Well, that intro is more exciting than today's game, I think. Joining me today to talk about that epic debacle is my man, Mr. Kirk Morris. What'd you think about that one?
Burn the tape, move forward. I think they just downplayed it from yesterday. Like they figured, that's good enough for today, and our minds are sorry set and going home type of deal. It just they never got up and running. And I know it's a back-to-back in the morning, for them, but still, lots of question marks there. And then they figured they could goalie their way out of it. There was Skinner, just like they did yesterday with Campbell, and he was like a screen door on a submarine there today, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess we sort of talked about it a little bit in the chats, but I didn't think Stewie was on today, really. I think they needed him to be completely lights out, and that's an unfair ask of any goaltender. But there was two goals tonight I didn't really love from him, but by no means was this game Stuart Skinner's fault. The guys, flat and simple, laid an egg. They didn't show up. Kane tried to sort of drag them into the fight, and Desharnais, I think, kind of did Kane a solid by stepping in and taking the fight there with Jack-Eye. Yeah. Yeah, and I think in that...
he got injured on that play. He got injured in that fight.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I don't think it's really going out on a limb, but I think Jack-Eye broke his arm.
The way he was hanging it there.
Yeah, he had this look, and I've broke my arm before, and when you can't really move your arm because it hurts just moving it, I'm gonna really go out on a limb and say he broke his arm there.
Yeah, pretty evident there when you have that kind of action going on. But where do you think just Vinny, hinged down on him?
I don't know if it was like part of the way he was just trying to grapple with him to get a hold of him, or if he threw a punch and Vinny turned his head and he caught him in the side of the helmet or something, and it shattered. I don't know. It's a good question because I don't know the answer to it, and I watched it like 3 times, so I don't know. It seemed funny, but just the way that he kind of couldn't make a fist really and didn't really want to move it.
Yeah, chicken wing pretty much.
I think he broke his arm.
Yeah.
and maybe it isn't a broken arm. Maybe it's collarbone or something like that too. It could be, but
torn pec.
Yeah, something ain't right there, and he's going to be out more than just day to day. Is going to be what I'm going with.
That seems to be the story with the Habs this season too. The injuries just keep piling up, and they seem to have no luck if they don't have luck at all.
So opening face-off, you see McDavid out there with Fogle and JP. That didn't last very long. And I thought, honestly, later on in the first, the best shift the Oilers had was when Holloway was out there with JP and McDavid. And Holloway found McDavid and sprung him for a good chance, and Allen made a good kind of pad save. Otherwise, it's 1-1 late in the third. And I think today, too, Ragu kind of in our group chat for Heavy Hockey, who always likes to dump on our league-leading power play, was getting pretty excited, about the power play. And, today there's maybe some credence to part of that. I was watching it, and honestly, I didn't think our puck movement was crisp today, along with the rest of our game. They just seemed disorganized and a bit disinterested on offense, and it's not like a characteristic of theirs to not be able to hold the zone, but it seemed like they had trouble kind of getting in and setting up shop and going to work. It just wasn't. It didn't look very good today.
Credit to Montreal. They were getting sticks and lanes. They were, man-to-man coverage was excellent. The one thing that really blew me away was all the penalties on both sides. Actually, but at first it was all Montreal, and I don't think their penalty kill was just. It was one factor that just kind of dominoed up to a whole bunch of bad there. Just bad coverage, but and going into this game, their PK was excellent. I forget what the stat was, but it was over 91% there. I think Bob and Cameron were talking about it. They're just really good, just solid PK work, and then the wheels, like the trolley wheels, just fell right off here today. Just along with everything else.
So before we went on, I kind of put a tweet out, asking for questions on Twitter there, and there's kind of a couple. So I'll go to this first one, and we'll touch on the trade stuff a little later. But Stephen Nichols on Twitter asks you specifically, Kirk, should the Oilers have played Campbell instead of Skinner against the Habs?
Well, shout out to Steve. He's one of my oldest friends. And yeah, I thought personally, I knew that Woodcroft was going to go back to Skinner, especially on a back-to-back. But now going forward, I think he's going to ride the hot hand with Campbell and ride him out. Skinner just didn't look like himself, period. Like just tracking was off there today. He did make a few really, really good saves in that first period, which I was really impressed, with the condition of the team that's playing in front of him. But, I wouldn't say a lot of goals, but there was a couple there where I thought he would have been better, just tracking period. He just seemed off for some reason. And, when you have doubt creeping into your head as a goaltender, confidence is everything. So when you start to lose confidence, it's like being in quicksand. It's just one thing after another. You keep letting goals in, it just weighs you right down until you can't move. So I think I knew, like I said before, I knew Woodcroft was going to start Skinner, just like I said, we was on a back-to-back, but I think going forward, I think Campbell's going to be played a heck of a lot more.
Yeah, so Detroit Wednesday is kind of next up, and I would expect that he goes back to Campbell there, and when they're spacing in between games, I think you can kind of go on a little bit of a ride the hot hand kind of run. But I don't think you want to leave Skinner out of it too long. Like, you don't want him to become ice cold either. And I think you kind of have to manage confidence levels of your goaltenders. And, he did it with Campbell. He didn't let him, totally freeze out. There was one little stretch where he sat for a while, but I don't think we'll see that with Skinner. I don't think he's been bad. I just don't think he's been razor sharp. I think it was the second goal today. I didn't really like his movement in the net. I think it was like a cross ice pass, and it kind of got by him, but it wasn't the, grade A goal that you'd like to see if you're going to give up anything that you give up. And then that one where Draisaitl with a half-ass back check on the defenseman streaking down, like CC took his. I thought CC was at fault there, and then I rewatched it. CC took his man into the boards, and he just kind of sprung that guy, and Draisaitl just. Well, I think I might like. It was definitely an Eeyore lazy Leon kind of back check. Nurse almost caught the guy to help out Leon, but it was Leon's man.
The reaction on Twitter was priceless there, especially from Dustin Nielsen there at TSN. He just said piss poor back checking. Well, that pretty much summed it up right there. And it was a story of a lot of goals against there today. Like I said, I don't know if their heads were directly in the game or they already were, thinking about, running home type of deal and looking forward to Detroit. But back-to-backs usually aren't kind, especially. And this is an oddball one. I've never seen a back-to-back matinee, in a schedule ever before. Have you? Because I haven't.
Sorry, I'm getting told we're having a bit of an audio issue here, and I'm not exactly sure what's causing it, but we'll see if we can navigate that.
Could be the 4K.
I think it's something else, but just talk now for a sec, Kirk.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there, like with the back-to-backs in matinee style in both games, like I've never seen that, like especially in the scheduling ever before. Like I'm just asking if you ever did, because I don't know if it was like there in the 80s, but they didn't have too many back-to-back matinees, I don't think, ever. I thought that was really bizarre in the schedule there when I first looked at it there at the start of the season. But I thought, you generally when you have a back-to-back, they're generally played in the evening, to kind of space up your time type of deal. But I don't know, like if they're just, their heads were already focused on home, or I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I don't.
Just a lot of piss poor play. Period.
I don't ever remember back-to-back 10:30 a.m. games.
Yeah.
In my whole life. Like, I don't remember that. 10:30 a.m. games, period, but two back-to-back, I don't that's new territory for me. I don't remember that.
Yeah, same here. A lot of guys are commenting on it, and it's kind of like going back to old school minor hockey, with the early starts there, especially in tournaments, or even in juniors, but you'd never see that at the pro level, especially in the NHL. I found that ultra weird anyways, but it don't matter what time you start, it's how you finish and play the game, and today was just a stinker, period.
So comment on the side there if you see it. What a terrible outing! Completely embarrassing. Yeah, I don't want to build excuses for these guys. They definitely laid an egg. And people say 4 games in 6 nights and that tail end of a road trip, whatever. If you lay an egg today, you basically laid one in Philly. You better show up Wednesday night at Rogers is kind of my attitude. Pretend like you want to challenge for the division lead and go from just a team that's content with just making the playoffs to a team that wants to have home ice, wants to, push to go beyond just qualifying for the Western Conference Finals and challenging to be a legitimate Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah, and right now it's for the taking, for the division title. You just, every point counts, especially, I don't want to sound like Ryan Rashog or anybody there in the local media, but, every point counts. You can't take nights off, especially against quote-unquote bottom feeders. But they're gonna show. It's the AHL for a reason. Don't matter who it is. They're gonna show, especially and play spoiler. for these higher ranked teams. And like I said, logjam galore. I think Vegas last time I checked, they're playing an afternoon. Their afternoon matinee against Anaheim. I think they're winning. Last time I checked, there anyways. But Vegas, they're they lost their starting goalie there in Logan Thompson. Apparently, it's not long term. So, but anyways, like when you have injury situations like that, especially with the top dogs there in the division, you gotta make it count. You can't. And I know they've been riding pretty high there. I think they were 9-0-2 in their last 11 or something like that. I can't remember what the stat was there either, but you have to take advantage and just make, even if they got a point there today, it would have been a great road trip. I know they got 5 out of 8 points in this last road swing, but you gotta make hay when the sun shines, pretty much.
I guess we're here to provide counseling for Jax today. He's pretty upset about this loss, and I can't blame him. Commented they're losing to bottom-dwelling, injury-riddled Bedard sweepstakes winners. Seems to be the norm. I mean, I don't know. To me, I still question the maturity level of our team, and it just seems like they really have a hard time getting up for games against teams that they think in their heads they should beat before they even play it. And I don't know, this will piss off Hebert, but when the 90s Bulls showed up to games, they were all business. They didn't change their approach no matter who they were playing.
Yeah.
And I wish these guys would do that. Like, play your ass off, get the results, and on to the next game. Like, I don't know. That part of this team drives me bananas because they are so talented. They're loaded with talent. Yeah, we can use some help if we want to challenge for the cup. But, being able to beat the likes of Montreal, Columbus, Philly, Calgary, you got to have the same approach. You got to just get up for games, and they can beat Tampa Bay. They can beat Colorado. They can beat upper echelon teams. But they struggle almost mightily with teams below them, way below them in the standings. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and another thing that I thought there today was the physicality of their play. They just... Mm-hmm. It just wasn't there. And you saw it there yesterday. I thought yesterday's game there in Ottawa was awesome. They did everything right. You had a lister and you checked off all the boxes. Perfect game, and then just a polar opposite. I don't know, man. I do have to agree somewhat with the maturity. But that's where your leaders are supposed to step up rather than complain. I noticed Leon complain, like he was frustrated. He was getting hammered, left, right, and center. But he was complaining to the referees. Just shut the hell up and just go and play. Just buck up, and just go out there and play. Like, if you got to throw the body a couple times, so be it. And like going back to the fights there, like I know Evander Kane. He was trying to fire up the team. And same thing with Vinny Darnay, and it worked. It worked for a certain amount of time, but people have to take notice of that and step up. And I don't think the consistency of that isn't there yet. And I don't know what the heck they're waiting for, but it's going to bite them in the ass if they don't wake up and play consistent hockey night in and night out.
I think the Got Your Back podcast just closed out because some strangers showed up saying "Howdy, boys." Let me know if I'm right in the chat. Yeah, Kane. I mean, he's a catalyst. He tries to drag everybody into the fight today. Literally, Desharnais took the bait there and took that fight. I think with Jack-Eye for him, so he didn't have to fight in back-to-back games and risk re-injuring his wrist. I really think that's what happened there. And Draisaitl today, to me, like I'm, people are wanting to say is he hurt and that. I don't think so. Like to me, yesterday it looked like the Leon Draisaitl that I know and love, and today to me looked like the Leon Draisaitl that was disinterested to be on the ice. And,
lazy Leon, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like maybe he wants to get home and get back to his girlfriend and the life and whatever, or. I don't know if I put too much into the tired, I'm going to kid around about it, but that long flight from Ottawa to Montreal couldn't have tired him out that much because, I don't know, it's probably a shorter flight than Edmonton to Calgary. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Doesn't mean.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, and the schedule to them has been pretty kind here as of late, even leading into the All-Star break, and now it's going to start ramping up here, like towards the end, and you're going to be playing upper echelon teams there again, starting, with New York there this next Friday, and they got Tarasenko there now. I don't know how much that's going to add to their lineup, but and then after that, like next Sunday, you got Colorado, Philly there the Tuesday after that, Pittsburgh, Columbus, and then after that it's ramping up Boston, Toronto, and then back to back with Winnipeg. Like it's not going to be easy.
I've got the most difficult question of the day for you.
Shoot.
Who would be your Oilers player of the game today?
Oh boy.
and that's why they lost, right? Like.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Connor there, like some stranger there commented, like Connor looked just off, and then Woody was cutting his minutes back there in the third, so I don't know if he got nicked up there or what, but I don't know, with that one scrum there, I think he got cross-checked there by Kovacevic there, and everybody just kind of dogged by. I know Hyman there charged after him there, but after that, he didn't have that jam, he didn't have that speed there, and then like I said, I noticed that Woody cut his time off there in the third period, so I don't know if he was just saving him or just trying to even out the time there, or ice time with everybody else, or I don't know.
Bit of a funny game too, really. Like they have a 5-on-3 for almost a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And Draisaitl got some good chances in, but they couldn't solve Jake Allen, and then just shortly after that, Kane just flings a puck on net and it beats Allen and it looks like we're going to get back into it again. Like just weird.
Yeah, real crazy. And they, like you said, they had plenty of chances, especially even on that first power play. Leon there around the side of the net there and fumbled it, and same thing with Connor there. Like it was just a bizarre, weird off game of it. Probably one of the most bizarre ones of the season, if not the most bizarre.
Yeah, I had another question too. Like, I'm watching, and there's this Montreal slap shot from the blue line on their power play, and Ryan McLeod's in the neighborhood, and Fogel's kind of in the middle of the ice, and there's a tie up. I can't remember if it was Kulak or Desharnais or something in front of the net. And it beats Skinner, and I don't really fault Skinner because there was a lot in his way on that one. But when was the last time we saw a forward sell out on the penalty kill to block a shot? I'm talking a forward, not a defenseman. Like I don't have one in my memory at all.
I don't know. I noticed their Philly, they were trying to block a lot of shots, but it was mainly defense. Like Nurse, I noticed there as of late, he's been blocking a ton of shots.
A lot with his stick, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you got a good point. Like it's
and maybe that's one of the symptoms of our penalty kill being where it is that we don't really have any forwards that are committed to actually kill penalties. They're out there, but they're not selling out to make sure that the other team doesn't score. They're worried more about making sure they're in the right spot rather than doing the right things.
I think with their penalty kill as of the most, they're playing very structured again. They're not swarming. like they did there when they were down in the dumps there with their percentages. But I thought here as of late, right up until today, they played really, really good. They let one in there yesterday against Ottawa. No big deal. But today, I think they let in 3. I don't know, just like I said, just a bizarro game where nothing was clicking, even their PK. Just like I said, they're right at the beginning of this. Burn the tape, move forward, because you can't dwell on stuff like this. You just can't.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of why they got picked apart today was more effort induced than anything.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah, just gonna look up there to see what they had there for goals against on the PK. One. No, only one.
I think Montreal had a shorty. I think today too. So
Right. Yeah, short-handed there, Dvorak. That was another lopsided play, I thought. Just bad assignment, bad piss poor back checking. The whole 9 yards. So, yeah.
That. Not to really throw him under the bus, but I didn't like that penalty from Bouchard either. Game was just kind of, not out of reach yet, and then he takes that call, and the dogs are barking, but he takes that call, and it just kind of derailed, any chance at coming back.
Yeah, I just, the player of the game, I don't know. It's just...
I'll leave that with you until next week sometime when it comes to you. No.
Looking forward there, like, what do you think they're going to be like against Detroit there at home? Like, you'd think that Detroit's going to be a little bit PO'd there from what happened there last game. So do you think they're going to have their hands full? I would assume they're going to have their hands full.
And then, if they drop that game, then we're going to hear it's the first game back from a long road trip excuse. Like, no, you've got to get right back after it. You got to get right back on the horse. So I don't think they'll be happy about the way today went. So maybe that'll do them good on Wednesday night. But yeah, like in Ottawa, they didn't. On the road, they don't try to be cute as much. I feel like their game is simplified a little bit on the road, and at home they try to entertain more than win hockey games. And if they take the mindset of we need a win tonight, and they play like a little bit more of a simplified game, if they get up a couple, then yeah, sure, turn up the Harlem Globetrotter, but just go out and win a hockey game, and climb the standings. You've got a real shot at first place, and you can also fall out of it. It seems like Calgary's actually starting to come on, so you might start getting chased from the bottom too. So, got to start playing better.
Even LA, they're like they blew out Pittsburgh there last night there too. So you definitely have to keep eyes on your competition within the division for sure. In Seattle there, I don't know if they. Hang on a sec. I gotta look up if Seattle lost or won there today there too. No, they won against the Flyers 4-3. So there you go. Like, yeah, it's gonna be a logjam right till the bitter end. I think here they just like I said there before, every point counts. You can't slack. You just and Vegas is winning there in the second over Anaheim 2-0. So. Yeah, I don't know, man. When you get a loss like this, you just have to wonder about, like what you said there, the maturity of the group. That's where the leaders should step up and be more vocal. Yeah.
I don't know. You need more of an all business attitude for these kind of games, and you go into Ottawa and you played a really good hockey game. But are you satisfied with that? Have you arrived? Are you there? It looked like they were content today to just, sleepwalk through the game and maybe get a late one and win it. But Montreal, was ready to play today, and they didn't let up. They got a pretty good performance by Jake Allen, but I wouldn't say he was going to goalie us today. They could have done enough to beat him. I just don't think we were really in the right mindset to win the hockey game today.
Yeah, no, their minds were elsewhere. That's for sure. So what do you want to talk about? What Holland should target here moving forward, or?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we touched on it a little bit, but the Johnson tweet, saying that the Oilers are engaged with San Jose on talks about Erik Karlsson. Some people are suggesting there's a 15 to 25% chance that actually comes to fruition. I'd be down with that. I think, that shutdown means stay-at-home defensemen. They've sort of found a little bit of that internally. Could they use more? Yes. But could they also use a guy that's going to be, probably a Norris Trophy winner, or at least a candidate in Erik Karlsson? Yeah, I'd be good with that. But I do think that, the power play with Barrie right now seems like it runs at a clip that you can't complain about, being top of the league, and I think he's a major reason for it by the way he distributes the puck. You can make arguments that Bouchard has a better shot, but I just don't think at this stage of his career Bouchard has the capability to move the puck and kind of make the reads that Barrie does out there. I think that's why he's out there and not Bouchard. And there's a trust factor, I think, in kind of the more veteran guy. So I'm okay with, Barrie getting that time and Bouchard kind of having to, wait in a holding pattern for that. But if you bring in Erik Karlsson, that probably spells Tyson Barrie going the other way. And I don't really know how I feel about that. I think you do gain a little bit of more fleet of foot in Karlsson. So I think he's in a position to defend better, but I can't really take anything away from the way that Tyson Barrie's given us everything he has this year. I don't find him to be the defensive liability that he was for large stretches of the season last year. Like, I don't see him getting caught as much. Maybe it's just all come down to decision making, or maybe he's worked on his foot speed too, or a combination of both. I'm not really sure, but I'd be okay with Erik Karlsson. The Chychrun talk is out there as well. Some people are saying we're right in the hunt for that, and some people are saying us and the Kings have fallen out of the race, and then now the Kings are right in the race, so who knows what. Maybe it's just a lot of talk to get the Twitter and the hits going. I don't know, but you know what, when Kane was out, I think we saw, we got a window into kind of the deficiencies of this team. Him coming back masks it a little bit, but they're still there. They're still there, and guys are going to get injured, and depending on who it is can be a minor blip on the radar, or can be a major blip on the radar. So I think if there's any chance to kind of solidify the decor, you do it, and I think you need to do it if you really want to contend for a cup. So you got to do something. You got to try to improve this group. However you can. I don't think our D right now is a Stanley Cup winning defense. I really don't. I think it's good, but I think it can be better than what it is, and you address that. And hopefully by addressing it, you're not paying off Peter to pay Paul to, how that all goes. I hope you can fix the need without creating another one in another area. That's my concern with it.
When I saw that Chris Johnston tweet there yesterday, I just automatically, I was like, no, just, I don't know, man. I hate to be the fence sitter once again, Humpty Dumpty and all that shit, but we need a stay-at-home defenseman, just somebody who just takes out the trash. We don't need the flash. Would Karlsson over Chychrun would be nice? Yeah, sure. It would be. Number one, you got to make the money jive. So what does San Jose want? Do they want multiple first-round picks? Do they want, especially if you have to add in another team there to broker, chopping down his salary? That's a big ask because he's still got 5 years left on his deal at $11.5 million. So if you ask San Jose to chop that down in half, that's a big ask to begin with. So you're going to have to pay for that alone, and I would assume that he'll want picks. And from there, if you add in a third-party guy, like a third-party team, the price will even go, it will accelerate. So, and once again, you need money in, money out to make everything jive. Who are you willing to part with? I know JP, probably across the board, would be the first to go. There's been chatter I've seen about Yamo. People saying, okay, we're fine with Yamo leaving. At that point, what else do you give up? As far as prospects go, are you willing to give up a Bourgault? Are you willing to give up a Broberg? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Holland loves the kid there too much as far as Broberg goes. And plus, like you mentioned about the internal solution there with Desharnais coming up. A lot of chatter. I've been following Bruce Kurlock closely here as of late, and he's posted highlights about Mike Kesselring, just being lights out for the farm team. I know he's a right shot D-man, but at 6'5", he would be another pinnacle on that back end. How do you make it work with a rookie? I don't know. Now, do you give up a guy like Kesselring as well? Say, hey, here's part of our deal. You want our top D-man from our farm club? Here you go. Rather than Broberg, do you make that part of the deal as well? There's a lot of moving parts, as Rashad would say. There's a lot of internal stuff, a lot of chatter that we're not privy to. But as far as making a deal work for Karlsson, that's a lot you're going to have to give up. And I get it. A lot of people on Twitter do the deal because the time is now with the window being open. As far as Draisaitl and McDavid, they have limited time here left. Do you think they're going to scamper if Holland goes to his usual ways and just adds depth?
So I'm just kind of in our chats. Kyprios is talking about Chychrun to LA for Blake Clark. And Michael's saying has to be more than that involved. But I did hear Clark mention before, so I think it's likely true now.
Brad Clark's an awesome defenseman. He's lighting it up there at Barrie here this year. Since after the World Juniors, he got sent back to junior, and he's a wicked prospect. It
might be that we heard this Karlsson stuff first yesterday because the Oilers knew they were a little bit out of the conversation about Chychrun. To me, I mean, I think Karlsson gets you a little bit closer to the promised land than Chychrun, honestly.
But does he put you over?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that's it. I'm not convinced that bringing in Erik Karlsson, boom, 2023 Stanley Cup winners, the Edmonton Oilers. I'm not sure that's enough, but I do think that gets you closer. If you can do that deal where it's kind of Barrie and Puljujärvi, San Jose eating salary, and it's 3 first-round picks, I think you have to consider it. But I think you do need to do another peripheral move so that you are slam dunking that Stanley Cup. Because to lose those 3 first-round picks, if you don't get a cup in the next 2 years after this, then you're in trouble of everything, or the scenario that I don't want to talk about. But it's it becomes within the realm of possibility. And earlier in the chats there, Jax was asking about Patrick Kane. The winds of what I've heard is that there might be a hip problem with Patrick Kane. Yeah. And if that's the case, I don't think I want to, sell a bunch of assets to gain that, to find out that you don't got a player that's at 100%. And at this stage of the career, I don't think I want Patrick Kane if he's at 75 or 65 or 50%.
And I got to ask you, what about Taves?
That scenario for me, I'm more interested in because I think that solidifies down the middle. If you can run in the playoffs McDavid, Draisaitl, Jonathan Taves, and Ryan McLeod as your fourth line center, I think you've got the makings of a cup-winning forward group there. Defense still needs a little bit of work, but yeah, you do that, and you've basically acquired a new top six winger in Nuge that you can deploy up there, or you can run McDavid and Leo, as a tandem, and still have Nuge as your second line center and Taves as your third line center, or vice versa with the second and third line centers. And you're in good shape. And you've got a guy that can win a draw late in the game to preserve a lead, or win you a draw to, get a last shot if you're trailing by one, kind of thing. He's good in the face-off dot, and definitely a vocal guy in the dressing room. I mean, yeah, there were the Kyle Beach thing that went down in Chicago. He was there for that, so you can question his leadership skills on that front too. And I can accept that, but I wasn't in the dressing room, and I don't know everything that happened there either, and I don't pretend to either. So I just know that he's got Stanley Cups on his resume, Olympic golds. So he's seen everything, much like Keith did. And, as much as people hated him for large parts of this season, we talked about how we missed him. So could have the same sort of effect with bringing in a Taves too. So yeah, I'm for that idea. Would I be devastated if it doesn't happen? No, but yeah, I could get behind that. Kane's a dynamic player, but if he's not at 100%, I don't know if I would, sell off assets to find out either. So.
Well, especially if he's only going to be a rental as well, because you don't know what he's going to do there after the season's done. Unless if you have his word that he's going to re-sign, even like a sign-in trade or whatever. But that's another big feather in Ken Holland's cap. I don't think he's willing to part with the assets, or I don't know. Like, the other thing I was wondering, and there was a question asked on Twitter. Besides Gavrikov, Karlsson, and whatchamacallit there, and Chychrun, do you have a back end guy that like a defender there that would? Do you think that would make a difference, like a Luke Shen maybe, or a Scott Mayfield? I know they're both right-hand D-men, but do you think they make a depth move, like a lateral move, like having a Shen on the team?
So when we were, flirting with the Karlsson dream scenario, in the back of my head, when you say, is that enough? I roll back to no, but I like the idea of trying to acquire Karlsson, and then following that up with trying to acquire a guy out of Florida in Radko Gudas, the name we've thrown around a lot. You have a right side all of a sudden. Where you can, if you choose to go 11-7, where you're deploying Karlsson, Radko Gudas, Desharnais, and Bouchard on your right side. I think that's a pretty solid right side. I could get behind that. What does it take to acquire all that? Who the hell knows? But to me, that's you want my dream scenario? That's it.
Yeah, I think there'd be a few people happy. I know a Wood guy and Alan Mitchell Wotide there. He's talked ad nauseum there on his show there on TSN about what Gudas would bring on a nightly basis. You want to talk about mean? You want to talk about stay-at-home D-man? Like I think he would. I think he would be an awesome ad there as well. But yeah, I don't know. I've heard a couple people mention about Shen. And he's a cheap option, and he plays for you. Like he goes to bat for you when he's on the ice. He will play his ass off. And Will it be a topper, like a cherry on top? Maybe, but uh, it'll be interesting to see if Holland does go the cheaper option, or even if he promotes within again. Like I said with Kesselring there, like last night I saw a replay of a goal that he scored on the San Diego Gulls, and it reminded me a lot of what Darnell Nurse was when he was younger. Like just have that offensive edge without giving up too much. Like I said, he's a big, able body. He can skate like the wind. Why not? I know it's kind of late in the season to tinker around with the lineup and bring him up a la Vinny Desharnais style. And he's probably not going to be called up unless if there's an injury. But do you promote within once again?
Yeah. If you're going into the playoffs, I don't think you want too many defensemen that haven't played a lot of NHL games as part of your lineup. And if you're going to the playoffs, I don't think you want too many guys that haven't played a single playoff game. That would be my concern. Already, I mean, you're going to be looking at probably Desharnais and Broberg kind of getting into their, playoff debuts. Did Broberg play a little bit of playoffs last season?
Yeah, he played, I think, 2 or 3 games there.
Yeah, it was Holloway that got his first game at the last game of the year.
Yeah, the tail end,
yeah. So I don't think you want too many of those guys, out there in the playoffs. That's going to be my concern with trying to promote within and rely on that to get you over the hump. The Luke Schenn kind of notion, I think that's a peripheral move once again. I think that marginally might help what you can put out there, right now. But does that get your defense core better than the Avalanche? And I think that still needs to be the bar to get to. No, so I do think they need to go after somebody that can play in the top 4 for sure, and solidify that. Cody Ceci, to me, I think he valiantly gave us the best he had for a while, but I think this season more so than last is he's starting to get exposed for kind of what he really is, and I think that's a guy that can probably play in your bottom 4 but not your top 2.
Yeah, no, the Darnell Nurse Cody Ceci experiment has to come to an end. I think maybe it's time to ramp up Bouchard there to promote him to the top pairing and see what he can do.
I think Nurse really struggled to start the season, but I think he's starting to regain his form and be who he is. I really liked his game in Ottawa.
Yep.
But if Ottawa, was, let's say, the Colorado Avalanche, I don't think we win that hockey game. There was way too many 2-on-1s where Nurse was the last guy back because CC gambled or got burnt. And I think it was 4 or 5 2-on-1s where Nurse was back by himself. And he played them well, but if that's against a good team, it doesn't matter how good you play 2-on-1s, the other team should score.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the pinching in there, I've noticed Cody Ceci do that a lot this year. Just pinch in and figure, all the F3 will cover my ass once again, and he's been burnt several, not just here and there. It's several occasions here as of late, and you have to start wondering. I would personally try to sell CC before Barry. That's my take on it. Rather than, I know he's a lower cap hit, but still, I don't know. It just I miss the old Cody Ceci there when we got from Pittsburgh, rather than now. But yeah, it's a tough call. It really is. What's going to happen? Going forward, what do you give up?
Yeah.
To make the money work.
Yeah. If you're going to make a deal, who do you give up to make the deal? And they're, this has kind of changed, over the last 2 years. For a while we thought Barry was sort of cock blocking Bouchard, and I've grown to appreciate both players. Last season Matt Kulak could do no wrong. Major stretches of this season, he's been, I would say, the lower guy on the totem pole. Desharnais steps in and looks like he belongs. And I'm sure he'll have nights where everything doesn't go his way, but so far, he's done everything you could ask of him. And then today, stepping in to take that fight from Kane, I just I admired that. A guy was trying to argue that, other guys were tied up, but Kane and Jack-Eye were kind of tangled up, and it looked like, Desharnais kind of gently walked onto the scene and said, "May I cut in?" and took the fight from him. Yeah. So I admire that. Broberg, for a while, he was trade bait, right? And almost the armchair GMs that can't give Holland any credit for anything he ever does wanted to deal him just because we drafted him instead of Zegers in Anaheim,
Caulfield or whatever.
He's settled in, and he played a quiet game today. And he seems to play a quiet game most nights, where you just don't really notice him. And basically rookie defenseman. That's everything you want, because that means they're doing it right. There's
basically, he's been like Clefbaum used to be. Like, you never noticed really Clefbaum, except for the power play, of course, but you never really noticed Clef. Like, he munched the minutes, and it was just consistent. And once again, shout out to Bruce McCurdy for the comparables, but it's shockingly close. It really is.
That was the most subtle, nod to McCurdy's article at first until you mentioned him that I've ever seen. Good job on that.
Once in a while, I throw out a good nugget, and once in a while.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't really know, somebody's got to go if you're making a deal, but what's the best decision for your group going forward if you do that? And if you really are all in, and you think, okay, well, I got to get a cup in the next 2 years or else, then maybe you do have to think about parting with some of your future to make it happen now. Yeah. And that could mean, a young up-and-coming defenseman in the name of Broberg or Bouchard that goes out the door. And, man, those are a little bit of the tough decisions and the decisions really that can backfire if you don't get it done.
Yeah, no, they do have reinforcements on the right side there on the farm, so maybe Bouchard is that part of that fodder that's on the way out, and I hate to say it, because Bouchard has so much potential. He hasn't popped yet, but when do you wait? You can't wait now.
Right.
You have to make a choice. Period.
Doesn't Bouchard have the CHL record for points for a defenseman over Doughty? I believe his 87 or something.
I can't remember, man. I'd have to look that up here.
Yeah.
Doughty was a London Knight, wasn't he?
Possibly.
Can't remember.
The London Knights pump out the talent, so that maybe it's a London Knights record. Maybe I'm wrong, but. Anyway, you're right. There's talent oozing in the kid. It just, it needs to. I don't think you can compare it to Hemsky, but we all talked about Hemsky's talent too, and it was there. And I remember Gretzky saying he's one of the most talented guys in the NHL, and it just never came to fruition. I think that's part on the fault of the Edmonton Oilers for never really giving him a sniper to play with, because Hemmer was not a shoot first guy. He was a pass first guy.
Yeah, he was part of that
pass first, pass second.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he did have that 87 point I can't find the records, but
yeah,
he did have that 87-point year there in 2017-18.
If you're still there, was it in 69 nice games that he played that season too?
Oh shit! Hang on.
I think it's something like that. He didn't play the full season. I know that.
No, it was 67.
Oh, well, we got a nice reference for nothing.
Yes, sir. No, it's going to be interesting, man. The speculation otherwise, you could go 10 different ways. But at the end of the day, with people screaming on social media, especially on Twitter, with all the armchair GMs, you have to make something. I think in order to really put this team over the top, you have to make a move. And if it's not this year, it'll definitely have to be next year because time's running out. It really is.
Yeah, they're getting late in the day, sort of, to not go all in, really. So I think they do need to, kind of put the chips on the table and play a little risk, but it can be high risk, high reward. I mean, what if the guy you bring in, in the 3 games down the road gets hurt, that kind of stuff, and you can't live your life that way, but
yeah,
there is that, and so you expend a lot of assets and today and futures just to get this shiny new toy, and it would be so Edmonton Oilers if it fell apart.
That's why I'm kind of leery about getting Chychrun, man, because at least with Karlsson, I know he's older, but yeah, just with Chychrun there, it's just he's so unpredictably bad when it comes to injuries. You don't know what's going to happen next. I know Broberg was kind of in the same boat, especially at the start of the season when he got injured there, when he sliced his hand there with a steak knife. I know it's Murphy's Law 101, but you just got to wonder at times, when you see a history like that, you have to go with a veteran who has playoff experience. That's the other thing. That's the other X against Chychrun. He doesn't have any playoff experience. So you're really taking a run at risking it all with a guy like Chychrun. But what do I know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess going after both Chychrun and Karlsson, it's not just like a one-shot wonder kind of thing. You will get multiple seasons with them, and I'm not really concerned about a huge drop-off with either guy after this year. I mean, I think the drop-off for Erik Karlsson is probably 3 years away, and
yep.
and Chychrun's, that's not a concern of mine at all. But I'm not fearful that next year Karlsson's just going to be shit. I think the surprising thing about Erik Karlsson is that he's found his way back and he's got his legs again, and he's back to being an all-star and Norris candidate, and I don't see him falling off a cliff after this year. It's great though to see that guy has found his way back. I mean, that's unbelievable. And San Jose's getting now the guy they thought they got originally, and it's funny that now they're willing to part with the guy, and that they sold off Brett Burns and make Karlsson the man, but yet they're ready to go complete youth movement and complete overhaul there for the future. That would never go over here in Edmonton. Not now, not.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there, with the way that he plays, freewheeling and whatnot, I think he would be a compliment to this team already, because you have that run and gun style, and depending on what kind of system that you run, you bring somebody new in, you have those growing pains of switching up, and I know there's not much difference in each team system, but you have to wonder how long of adjustment period you have, especially with the goaltender. I noticed somebody said something about a number one goaltender there on the chat, and I was like, we have a tandem. Like, if anything, that's been proven. Like, I know you're going to have, like I said, growing pains going down the stretch even here with Skinner because he hasn't been the same. But yeah, just that's the least of our worries at this point now, which is a blessing. It's a good thing, you know?
Jack Campbell, looked like an AHL starter or backup at the start of the season. But I think it's since Christmas he's 9-0-1.
Yeah, he's won 9 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so Jack's a number one goalie right now. I think we have a 1A, 1B scenario, and
Definitely.
with the way Campbell's playing, I mean, I would put him in the top 10 in the league right now. So, I'm not searching for a goalie in my head right now. I think we've got pretty solid goaltending. It's fixing the other areas, deficiencies, trying to improve the forward group a little bit. I think it's close to where you want it to be, but can use a little bit of tinkering and injecting a little bit into that decor to solidify that is my main concerns. I wonder if, like, it hasn't been, I just had my head down for a second checking Friedman and Saravalli to see if Chychrun was a done deal or not, but nothing so far. But I wonder if LA does acquire him, that we do put an all out full court press on Karlsson, and it creates a little bit of a Pacific Division arms race going on. And you know what? I'd rather it go that way, but I wouldn't be opposed to Chychrun being the guy. I know Stony Oil almost has like a daily campaign for Chychrun on Stauffer's Oilers now at lunchtime with his phone calls and his texts, and it's actually quite comical, and I get a kick out of him because he's got a point and he backs up some of his points with stats, and he pushes Stauffer to think, which sometimes can be a tall task. And I appreciate that. And, for me too, I was kind of, we need this staunch, hard-nosed, mean son of a bitch defenseman. But I think we found it internally. And could we use more? Yeah. Is Radko Gudas the guy I'd like to see? Yeah. But like I said, a 1-2 punch of Karlsson, Gudas, and Bouchard and Desharnais kind of, you got a little bit of everything there. You got a guy with a cannon, you've got puck movers, you've got a skater, and you've got a mean or two mean son of a bitches if you could ever require that.
Hell yeah. No, I'm just checking out our chat there, and I came across this tweet. I got to read it. It's from Gabe Foley. He says, anticipating a goalie swap happening in the Jakob Chychrun trade, hearing from multiple sources that LA has had their eyes on Vejmelka for a while. Boy, that would be something else. Like, do you swap out like a quick, and bring in Vejmelka, and then, or do you swap out Copley going the other way, or even Cal Peterson?
Oh, here's another thought that is a bit of a nightmare scenario if you want the Oilers to go back to the Western Final and beyond, is that LA does something like that and then turns around and deals whoever they pick up to Vancouver for Demko and shores up their net in a big way.
Man, I wouldn't go that tinfoil hat crazy, but you connect the dots there with a goalie trade there, because LA has been looking for a goalie. That's no secret, especially with Peterson there falling off a cliff. He's got a $5 million cap hit for the next 2 years after this season. So, yeah, bringing in likes of Chychrun, boy, it would make things very, very interesting, and it would, like you said there before, if they make a move, we'll make a move type of deal. And do you think that would prompt Ken Holland to finally step up, and bring in somebody even bigger, to counter? Because that series last playoffs, that was a damn good series, man. They nearly beat us without Doughty on the back end.
Yeah, I don't think them having Doughty turns the tide, but it was a 7-game series as it was, so who knows? Yeah, I think the reason why it was like that is because they played a style of play that was very eerily similar to the Ducks in 17, where it was a muddy hockey game. If it's more freewheeling and free and open hockey, their forwards can't compete with our forwards. I'm sorry. And if that Kings girl's listening in, I'm sorry. Our forward group is just better than yours.
Angel,
Yeah, but the hooks, the holds, the little Philadelphia Flyers 80s clutch and grab kind of was alive and well in that series. And let's face it, the officiating standard changes from the regular season to the playoffs. Whistles kind of go away, and you're allowed to do a little bit more, and they did, and they needed to do that to make it a series, and it worked for them. And if Doughty was playing, would they do even more of it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would.
Oh hell yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and not to take away from them totally, like they are a good group, and I said on Michael's show that they're the team that I think that we have to seriously worry and try to dethrone. I think they're more capable group, honestly, than Vegas and Seattle. Seattle's starting to falter, and I think Vegas is gonna sort of free fall here down the stretch. They'll have their flashes of good games, but they seem to really miss Stone. He's to them what Kane is to us. He's their catalyst.
Yeah. No, it'll be definitely be interesting. Looking forward there, like especially, I think there's 2 weeks left of the trade deadline. I think that the hot stove will be turned up even higher this next week. So seems like after that one domino falls there with Chychrun, like who else is going to go, right?
Yeah. So we've lapped the hour mark today. Super Bowl Sunday. I guess we'll chat about that for a second or three, and we'll close her down. You have a horse in the race. You watching the game? You like the NFL? Where are you?
I'm not a huge NFL fan, unfortunately. I don't know if you call it bandwagon fan. I know of people that just watch the Super Bowl for just the commercials alone. That's it. So, but prediction wise, two very talented teams, man. Two very talented quarterbacks. I know Mahomes is injured there with the high ankle sprain. There, he's gonna probably have extra tape on it there this afternoon. But as far as predictions go, I'm leaning towards Philly. They seem to have that. They seem to have that swagger, I guess. But you can never count out Kansas City there with Travis Kelce. Like he's been there, done that there too. So predictions wise, I'd say 24-17 Philadelphia.
There you go. Yeah, it could be a low scoring event. Two pretty good defenses, or it could go completely the other way. Yeah. I kind of think Kansas City probably gets it done today, just because I don't think the Eagles have really been tested with playing really good quality of competition for a long time this season. They've been gifted a little bit of an easier ride. But you know what? Their defense is really good, and you know what they say, defense wins championships. So that might be the story of today, is that the Eagles' defense just doesn't give the Kansas City the opportunity to run and gun. Travis Kelce reminds me of one of my favorite players from New England, and then in Tampa, and Rob Gronkowski. To me, they're very similar. I think Gronk's better, but Kelce's a big man, big strong guy, can catch the football and can run with it, and he's hard to bring down.
Yes, sir.
Entertaining to watch. Yeah, and I like to watch Mahomes scramble. I think he's probably the best I've ever seen in scramble mode, other than 5'6" CFL and later NFL and Boston College legend and Doug Flutie. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a legend.
So Wings coming up on Wednesday. That's kind of the next one. I guess we'll close talking about March 4th, the Heavy Hockey Showdown. Am I going to meet the man, the myth, the legend, the Vegreville Easter egg bringing? You got to bring it to the game for the silent auction, Kirk Morris. Am I going to see you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I plan to be there at the game. I'm not playing, but I haven't put a pair of skates on in over 30 years, so I'd be more like a pylon there in the net, pretty much. So, but I will be there live at the game. I plan on bringing my camera there to take a few photos of the game, and then the after party there as well. I'm going to be hanging out with the entire crew, and looking down forward to meeting everybody there.
So to start this whole show, I need to apologize to you. It was nothing with your microphone or your new machine or any of that. I forgot to turn on desktop audio, and because I am not using headphones, that's the only way people can really hear you. So the only way they were hearing you was through reverberation through my mic, I think, and that's not a good way to do the show. So sorry to everyone. And hopefully Hebert will settle down and stop calling me names in my DMs, because I let him down. But after I got that solved, I think we did okay. I'll have to listen back to make sure that was exactly the problem, but I'm pretty sure it was. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for joining me, Kirk. An hour and 12 minutes today, and no streaming problems on Twitter, so I think I solved the other problem I had with that yesterday. Sorry to Lotsburg for that. Got Your Back podcast still has some audio issues too, so I'm not the only one, so it makes me feel a little bit better, but we'll try to pick it up for next time. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Hopefully the Oilers can beat Detroit on Wednesday. Keep your sticks on the ice, keep reaching for the stars, and go Oilers go. Thanks a lot.
Let's go Oilers.